Hello everyone, this is Captain Joel, and this is my latest Marvel Puzzle Quest video for 4-star Iron Fist Danny Rand. Sorry for taking a bit of a break from the time I last released a video, but let's get right to it. This is the new Iron Fist based on the Netflix TV show, which was pretty bad. The TV show, not necessarily the character. So as you can see, he's supposed to look like Finn Jones, who's pretty much a skinny weakling with no muscle. So missing for 15 years, Danny Rand returns to New York City, armed with martial arts training and the mystic power of the city of Kunlun. Now he must navigate his new life, torn between his family's legacy and his duties as the Iron Fist. So, yeah, I almost don't want to use this character just because of how bad the TV show was. So he has 14,000 HP, level 270. So it's a pretty mid-tier health level, a little bit on the higher end compared to some of the weaker characters, but around mid-tier, mid-higher tier health. So he's a blue, green, black character. The other blue, green, black characters are currently the 4-star Punisher and Cho Hulk. So those are the characters he would be competing with for colors. So let's see what his skills are. So his first one is a blue skill called Chi Focus, and it costs 6 blue AP. Danny concentrates his energy to augment his physical power. Creates, at 3 covers, a strength 149 purple strike tile. Then, if there are at least 3 friendly strike tiles on the board, fortify up to 2 of them and gain 3 green AP. So, just to clarify what this means, this secondary condition, first it creates the tile, this strike tile, and then this condition takes effect. Meaning if you had 2 strike tiles already on the board and you use this move, that would make there be 3 strike tiles on the board, and that would make the secondary effect go off, meaning you'd have 2 of them fortified and get 3 green AP. Now, adding an additional covered to have 4 covers in blue, it means that the strike tile goes up from 149 to 243. So almost 100 higher power for the strike tile. And the second impact is the fortified tile. You now have 3 of them get fortified. So not that much of a difference. I mean, 149, pretty low strength for a strike tile, even if it's only 6 AP. And even at 243 is pretty low. And you can't really get the secondary condition that easily unless you have another strike tile creator on your team, which we will discuss strategies for that later. But finally, if you have it at 5 covers, the strike tile strength is going up even more. It's going up from 243 to 320. So that's around 170 or so higher level strike tiles being created over 3 covers. And the most important part is that the secondary condition is now much easier to meet. Meaning if you have only 1 strike tile on the board when you use this move, then using this move will give you the secondary condition. So you're essentially going to be spending, if you have the 6 blue AP to start with, you're only going to be spending a total of 2 AP, and you're going to be converting the other blue AP into green AP. And you'll have all those strike tiles fortified. So I think that if you're planning on making use of him as a self-propelling battery, having his blue at 5 is pretty important. His green move is called Crowd Control, and it costs 8 green AP. Danny rushes into the fray, making quick work of his enemies. At 3 covers, it deals 2,030 damage, so that's not so powerful. 253 or so damage per AP. But remember that you can essentially get the free strike tiles out with his blue, and then convert that AP into green AP, so that this skill could only end up costing you 4 green AP, meaning 507 damage or so per AP. Still not that great, but we haven't gotten to the secondary condition yet, which is if there's more than one enemy remaining, you gain at 3 covers 2 black AP. So that's going to bring down the cost even lower, so that it's pretty much, assuming you've got the maximum out of the blue, which would be getting the free 4 AP from blue. So this brings the green down to only costing 4, and then that's going to really decrease the cost of the black move, so it's kind of making this only cost 2. I mean, it's kind of hard to figure out how to really assign AP conversion skills because you're kind of flowing from one to the next. So I think that it does kind of do a bit more than it looks like it does per the cost because of the conversion factor. But the only problem is if you have blue at 5, which you really need to in order to get the most out of the free green AP, then that means, and if you want to have green at 4 to get the most creation of black AP, then you're going to have a really weak black, which we'll get into. So in terms of looking at the AP conversion factors, I think that it's definitely a bit tricky to calculate the full cost of this character and how good he really is. But getting back to his secondary status skill, if there are more than one enemy remaining, you gain 2 black AP, otherwise deal 556 extra damage. So it's going to be one or the other. You're either going to get a free 2 black AP, or you're going to deal an extra 500 damage. And that's just at 3 covers. And there's finally another condition for this skill. If Luke Cage is an active ally, this attack ignores all enemy projectiles. Rarely going to be useful. They kind of just threw that in there to show that they have synergy, but I'm not very impressed with that synergy, really. How often do you have a problem with enemy projectiles? And it's only making this one attack ignore them anyhow. But when you bump up from 3 to 4, you're now getting 1 more black AP back. You're dealing around 900 more damage, and you can also potentially deal about 250 or so extra damage if there's only one enemy left. So not a huge difference between 3 and 4. If you're figuring out, it seems like it's kind of go from either 3 or 5 for him, because he jumps up to 4,700 damage at 5 covers, which again on its own is not a huge amount of damage, but considering the whole self-fueling character, it is a lot cheaper than it looks, I think. But the AI won't use these properly necessarily, meaning that on defense in PvP he won't be quite as useful for his self-fueling power. But still, this means he's going to be dealing either 4,700 damage and getting 4 black AP, up from 2 black AP at only 3 covers, or he's going to deal an extra 1,300 damage. So that's around 6,000 damage for 8 AP. That's pretty good. It's not, 1,000 damage per AP, but if you start looking at the blue flowing into the green, it really is a pretty good move. So I think that, this is a pretty good skill for quick damage. Especially when he's boosted, he's going to be doing probably, well, I guess we'll see soon. Lastly, his black, like unto iron, is 12 black AP, which is pretty expensive. Danny channels all his chi into his fist to deliver a devastating punch, converts up to 3 friendly projectiles to strike tiles, and then deals 4,673 damage at 3 covers. At 4 covers, he's now converting 1 more projectile to a strike tile, and he's dealing 6,700 damage. And finally, at 5 covers, he's converting 8 projectiles and dealing almost 11,000 damage. So this skill, just like all of his others, is pretty complicated to really figure out. Now, obviously, at 3 covers, it's useless. You're not going to use this skill. only 5,000 damage for 12 AP, and especially black AP, is pretty bad. There's a lot of other better black AP skills. And I guess it's questionable if when you would really want to convert all of the protect tiles to strike tiles. How many characters are going to be putting out a bunch of protect tiles? Pretty much Luke Cage and the 4-star Captain America Falcon character. There's not that many other characters that are going to be putting out a lot of protect tiles for you to flip into strike tiles. So I don't know how really useful that flipping is. But at 5 covers, the amount of damage is pretty good, especially considering the fact that, I mean, it's kind of annoying because, you want to look, oh, well, if you have blue at 5, then he's getting 4 AP back when he uses the skill after their strike tiles out. So it's only costing 2 blue AP, or 2 AP total being expended. And then if you use green at 5 covers, he's getting 4 black AP. So you spent 2 blue AP and you spent 4 green AP, so you've only used 6 AP so far. Right? So it looks like you're only spending 6 AP total to use those first 2 skills. And then black, well, it's just, you've only spent 6 AP so far, and you got 4 AP saved up. So you just need another 8 AP to get black going. So it's kind of tempting to look at it like that, but you can't, because you can't have blue at 5 covers, green at 5 covers, and black at 5 covers. So I think you kind of have to figure out who you're going to be using him with. Are you going to want to have his really powerful black at 5 covers and just do as much damage as possible, but have it be expensive? Do you want to kind of ignore his blue and just basically assume that you're going to spend the full 8 AP and then use black? So, I mean, I think it really depends who you're using him with. It's tempting to have his blue be the one that you have at 5 covers, because essentially you can save up 12 blue AP, you'll get 2 strike tiles, which will be around 640 strength. They're going to be fortified strike tiles, and he's going to be able to basically go straight into green. So that's one way to use this character. The other way is to just ignore blue, find another blue user, and then have his green go into his black. So I think that you have to kind of figure out who you're going to use him with. Now, obviously, the first character people will think of teaming up with Danny Rand would be Luke Cage. But I don't think he's really such a great teammate. Even though you can kind of use the blue and the green for Danny and use Luke Cage's black, except Luke Cage's black is a passive. So you're not going to have a black outlet if you do that. So you'd have to kind of have Danny go with 3 in green or 3 in blue, which I don't really like. However, the one positive of this team up is the ability to get fortified tiles out and deal extra damage. If you've got Danny at 5 covers in blue, and he's fortifying his strike tiles, okay, and then you've got around 2 strike tiles out, let's say, and they're fortified, you're going to be creating this protect tile. You're going to be dealing at least 6,000 or so damage for that 8 yellow AP with Iron Fist, without having anything else out. But it's tempting to look at Iron Fist as a good teammate with Luke Cage, but they really aren't. They don't go together very well. So I think that you kind of have to look at Danny as somebody that goes well with another strike tile creator if you want to maximize his blue, and kind of find somebody else that also has a good black, so that you don't have to waste the black AP you're getting for the 3 covered version of Danny's move. So who would make a good teammate? I personally think Nova is actually one of the most versatile teammates to go with for Fist, because all you need to do to get the benefit of Danny's blue is if you want to use Danny's blue at 5 covers, you can use Danger Zone first. Okay, that's going to give you 3 black strike tiles. So right there, you've already got this skill activating his blue for a cheaper ability. Okay, so you've just used black once, then boom, you got the blue converting into free green AP. If you have Danny at 5 covers in blue, then you can just use Nova's yellow once, and that'll create 2 strike tiles. So again, you've got multiple options with how you cover Danny. The only problem with the 3 in blue is that you're going to be kind of using black first once to get the blue to be efficient, and then to feed into the green and the black. So that's just one thing to consider if you do want to use the 3 cover blue Danny Rand, or Hobo Fist as many people are calling him. But I do think that this is a good option for a teammate in terms of versatility. The other option is going to actually be with Ant-Man, because it's a bit slower though, so I don't know if I would use it in hopping in PvP. But with Ant-Man's yellow, it's only 7, and you can get a bunch of strike tiles out. But you have to wait first after you get the yellow AP, and then for the countdown tiles to resolve. But you've also got his purple, which can make the strike tiles that are all over the place a lot more useful, and the fortifying from the blue from Iron Fist to help keep these tiles out. So that's another option. You could also decide you want to have Blade, and you can have Blade at 5 in red and 5 in green, have Danny at 5 in blue and 5 in black, and that way you can get the massive damage from Danny's black, still use the green from Blade, and you can get free strike tiles out there every turn, as well as the damage. The only problem is Blade can go either way. He can either be awesome in a match or useless, depending on how many red tiles start out on the board. In addition to that, Danny's green is a pretty good skill at 5 covers, so I'm always very hesitant to lower his green to 5. I'd rather have it be that his blue or his black are the ones at 5. But this is a potential teammate that could work. Also, you can end up using the Captain Marvel Carol character, because with her, you can use her black for more damage, as well as creating strike tiles. And you can end up, you don't need her green as a passive, so you don't need any AP for her green. And I think that the ability to strengthen fortified strike tiles would also be very helpful. So I think that this is another good potential team to use. So I think you've kind of got pretty much those 4 choices for who you want to use as teammates with him. It really depends on what your goal is. If you're playing PvE or you're playing PvP, it really depends. It's very situational, and it's also somewhat luck-based if you're going to be playing with Blade, if it'll work or not. So I think that those are Nova, Carol Danvers, Blade, and Ant-Man are all potentially good teammates depending on the circumstances. I really like the way he kind of flows from one move to the other, but I dislike the fact that you kind of want each of his moves at 5, because without that, he kind of goes from a self-propelling character to really dependent on having another teammate who can use the AP better than him. It's very annoying that way, because it's just, annoying. You want to have him flow from one to the other, and he doesn't. At 3 covers in any of them, he's not good at flowing. So he's kind of a character that looks like he could have been really great, but because you're limited by the game's mechanics, he's kind of high mediocre at best. So I'm going to have another video following this where you can see him in action with different matches. But let me know if you think that I'm not rating him high enough. I think that, like I said, I think he's very high mid-tier. I just think he's never going to get into the top tier because he just is a bit too difficult to use, and you just kind of want him at 5 in every skill, and without that, he's just not that good. So stay tuned for my next video.